Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Okay, so what year did you graduate from Bay High School?
36.
1936. Okay, so World War II was getting ready to get started. What did you do then?
I was in the National Guard.
National Guard.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay, so right when you graduated, they were started building the canal to West Bay, the Intercoastal Waterway.
Yeah.
Did you work on that some?
I worked on it, and I started working with the state, scraping and painting bridges,
Okay.
and steel truss bridges. Had one in East Bay, and had one in West Bay. I mean, across Halfway Bridge, and steel truss bridge. I worked on that. Then they gave me a bridge to the job to put in the boat backwater. But first, before I did that, I would with the dredge company and dig the bridge, dig the canal.
Yeah. So then you went in the Army later.
Yeah.
After that.
Well, what was it? I was with the National Guard, and they were inducted into the Army. The whole unit was.
Okay.
And so I was in the unit. So we were in Texas, I think, doing something, and they said we're going to send us across the pond. So we put us on trains, put all of our boats in them, put all of our equipment on the train, and they sent it ahead, then put us on the train. We went to Fort Dix, New Jersey. And so instead of going to France, they said, we're going to need you in Alaska. So they sent us, all of our equipment over in France. That's the way. But anyway, they put us on a boat, go to Alaska. And so what they're doing was, but the Japs were taking up the islands and going down. And so they said us we had to revise an airport for bombers and so forth. Okay, for Christmas '43, we was living in a tent with a double bed. We got up -43.
-43.
-43.
Whoa, that's cold for a boy from West Bay. That was cold.
Yeah, and their stove was a little coal stick heated by coal. They dumped some coal out the front, and us poor fraud boys couldn't build a fire with coal. but we learned. But then later on we put us in Quonset huts. We didn't live on the base. We lived out in the woods, and so bear, deer, not too many deer, but the moose, grazing around the moose.
About the fish, go fishing.
Oh, we fished too. We had a lot of lakes and all kind of fish.
Alaska in the 40s. That's pretty strong.
And so I don't know. I enjoy it. I mean, I ski. I learned how to ski. and caught one halibut.
Okay, halibut.
Yeah, I was on a boat, and we was in Juneau Bay, and one of the cooks he was fishing with a line. He handed me the line because he had to go cook supper, and I got a 10-pound halibut. That's the only halibut I ever caught. A rainbow trout, put it in. dolly varden, plenty of them. Brown trout, plenty of them. There was a lot of fishing.
That's cool.
Cut a hole in the ice, fish through the hole. But I couldn't skate. I never could skate. My ankle wouldn't take it. Wouldn't skate.
Yeah.
But I learned how to survey. So that's where I learned engineering, mostly in Alaska.
And when the war ended, do you remember when the war ended?
Oh yeah.
Where were you?
In Fort Benning.
In Fort Benning. Everybody was happy, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I was happy.
Okay, very good. When the war ended, so everybody's happy. You got married during the war, so y'all started a family.
I married before I got in the war.
Before you got in the war. That was smart.
That was
Okay.
1940. We got married in 1940, and I went. They inducted us in 40 into the Army,
Okay.
and so
So you came back to West Bay and
I came back to West Bay. After I got out of the Army, I came back and went to work with the state.
got your job.
Engineer.
Okay, let's talk about that. You engineer with the state,
Yeah.
and y'all did a lot of surveying. Now,
Well, it was, of course, I mean, we, lots of it was building roads and so forth. So we had to supervise the building of the roads. Then we started, they put me on surveying and location new roads. And I worked with that. And then they put me back on building roads again. So I'm working pretty well all together.
you're famous for a lot of things, but one of the things that really stuck out in my mind, tell us about when they started planning Interstate 10 from the Alabama state line to Jacksonville. You were in on that, so what happened on that?
Well, they gave me maps, air photographs marked on it. It says, find this point and go this way. And that point was in Alabama. They're about to work a well station. And we found where the point, and we crossed that river and
So you drove the very first stake for surveying Interstate 10, is that right?
well, I put my foot to drive it there.
Well, yeah, drive it there, right. But that's amazing that you were there on the very first stake.
And then we crossed the river in a kind of a horseshoe thing, and it wasn't right where it was, so I went back and redid it. And then cut a canal. We changed the state line. We cut a canal, a channel change. that moved the state line back there. It became the center. And so we kept going on.
So
And we had other jobs too.
you were surveying and
I was chief of party,
okay.
and then I went studied up and got to be a professional engineer, a professional land surveyor. Mm-hmm. And so when they did that, they promoted me. Did a one party, they had three of them. Had three parties.
Yeah.
And so after that, we finished up to got to the end of the district, which was in Monticello.
Okay, so you walked all the way, basically from the Alabama state line where the Interstate 10, you walked most of that all the way to Monticello.
That's right, yeah. And that day, we loaded up and moved to Panama City. We did the first job was Glen Haven. They built the Glen Haven Bridge. We wasn't on the bridge, we was on the approaches to the bridge. So we did the job from Glen Haven to Panhandle, to the East Avenue down there. Ended up at the Millville.
Yeah, the paper mill going that way.
Paper mill.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then he went, James Allen, they put him in charge of a crew, and he wound up being a resident engineer. And they put me on location for the surveying.
All right, a couple of other things you told me. You also did a survey for the original layout for the St. George Island Bridge.
Yes, ma'am. Well, yeah, we did that. I mean, they put me, it was 4 miles.
All right.
And they put, they had no surveys ever did. We never did know how far it was and anything. So we had to do a triangulation, and finally got a distance from here to there.
Okay. And also, I think that going up later on, Highway 38, didn't you do 38? Original 38?
38, yeah.
Yeah, you did that one. I know back in the early days, our deer population, there were not a lot of deer.
No, I'm trying to 7 o'clock. Very seldom you see that deer.
So what happened?
Well, the hunter had to go to the ag field and shoot deer. So they decided to bring a bunch of deer around the West Bay around there, and they started flourishing.
So they brought them in from Eglin, they sort of ended up over from Eglin, and that's what happened.
Yeah, they began raising. Now that's very common.
Yeah. Let's say something about St. Andrews State Park. Didn't y'all used to go to St. Andrews State Park and fish? You and your brothers?
Once a year.
And in October.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember.
We got all those give us they give us a place to gather. All of had campers, and they give all the families that had different campers. They got all that a group. And we stayed there 2 weeks a year in October, and we enjoyed that.
That was a special time with your family, brothers. The 2 weeks in October, y'all would camp there and eat fish.
Yeah, yes. Well, we cast netted and fished and so forth.
I guess St. Andrews State Park was special at that time. Wasn't many people.
Special. There wasn't too many people there then. Right now, it's hard to get in there.
I know. Okay, this is the three brothers. Tell us about that boat right there.
It was a freight boat, and a passenger boat, and it ran from West Bay to Panama City, backboard, and it brought it was owned at this time by the Rogers family, and I rode it. I rode on that boat. My dad used to pilot, and he carried me to Panama City and back, and we anchored it at the old Tarpon Dock. You remember the old Tarpon Dock? We anchored it there, and we would eat White's Cafe. White's Cafe used to be right there on Tarpon Dock. They moved it now, but we were eating lunch, and they come and got Dad in, so said, you got to move your boat because the tarpon's coming in. So he left me there, and he moved the boat, and then they brought him and put some, had some stuff to well, he had to put some freight on the old tarpon, and it had to carry the West Bay. And he came back and says, I was a little small for it. He said, well, eat your pudding now, we gotta go. So they had to put up chocolate pudding. I remember that. But then so we rode back, stopped at Glen Haven, got some brick and stuff. This group here is a group of men that was supposed to be witnesses to a murder case, and so they had a trial, and these people here was on the witness stand, and their names I got it on.
They were going from West Bay to Panama City.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Buchanan, Sowers, and the old West Bay names.
Yeah, all West Bay names. They're all West Bay.
That's cool.
Way back when they were logging, they cutting cypress trees in Choctaw River.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd cut the tree and they'd drag it to the water, float it down the river, and wind up Port Washington and cut it in lumber and sold it overseas. But some of the logs sank, and so years later, 100 years later, well, the old man had a sawmill, pine log sawmill. Well, Anderson, name was Anderson, and he was going out and he'd find these sunk logs, and he'd drag them up there to his sawmill and cut them up and left. And it's solid, hard cypress. And Daddy got him to cut him enough to build a house out of it. So that's a replica of the house right then. The house now was all of us raised, but a brother bought it. He gave it to the Boondocks Restaurant. It is not part of the Boondocks Restaurant.
Hey, that's where Boondocks Restaurant is?
That's right.
How about that?
They probably sleep in my bedroom if you agree with it.
Next time we'll go out and get some mullet, I said, that's where he's sleeping over there.
That's right.
That's cool.
We had an outboard motor that you just have to pull the net up, carry it over and put it on the back, go. And so then Martin, the motor company, Martin made a Martin motor that turned this way. Mm-hmm. So I got Daddy a motor just hang on the side of the boat, and he could handle that thing and turn it right on the side of the boat. Then they decided that if you could put a well in the boat and hang the boat motor in it, well, you would have to leave it. That's what they did. And so everybody said, you're going to ruin your boat. But anyway, Daddy was the first one that had a well put in the boat. He put a motor on and just leave it there. It's tight. And you pull it up, go shot of water anyway.
That's cool.
But he was the first one that had a well in a boat.
What do you attribute your longevity to? How in the world does someone live to be 103 years old?
Some people ask me those questions. How did you get that? I don't know. I just didn't die.
That's a good answer. What do you eat?
Eat?
What do you like to eat?
Anything in the world. I eat bananas.
You like bananas?
Breakfast.
You're looking back on it, what are some of your favorite memories in your 103 years? What are some things that jump out?
That's a good question. I don't know of any. Of course, there's been so many things that's happened to me during that time that it's pretty hard to remember. Of course, when my wife, she and I stayed 74 years before she died. And
Y'all were married 74 years?
74 years. She died in nursing home. And so 2 years later, Jean and I got married. And so she's been a good wife. It's all been good times.
So now you're living next door to Fred and Amelia. So how do you like living next door to them? You have to keep them straight?
It's hard to do.
I've been up here a few times. Every time I come up here, you working in the yard.
I love yard work.
You work in the yard every day?
Just about. I ran and pulled some weeds this morning.
Yeah, I saw you had to pull them weeds.
But they look after me.
What about the Holy Spirit?
Me and the Holy Spirit are very, very good friendly too. Every night I talk to him. So I thank you for taking care of me and everything. And so I asked him a question. He said, "You won't tell me." I said, "Why? You know, why I'm living?" But we're very good friends. Very good.
So your faith has been a very strong part of your life.
Very strong.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.